Out. Hi Seth. Hi Ak. Hello Gemini Moon. This cat.
Hi!
Hi.
What's going on, friend?
Not a whole lot. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I'm so excited.
Me too. Me too. I am so sorry for rescheduling on you last
No,
minute.
you're
I hate
totally
doing that.
fine.
It was like 3 hours before we were supposed to go live yesterday, and I texted Kenzie and I was like, I'm sick. I can't do it. So.
It's okay. It happens. Honestly, like, it's no big deal at all.
Well, I very much appreciate your flexibility.
I got you. I'm off this whole week because of Matt, so I was like, I got not a whole lot going on, so I can do kind of anything.
That's exciting. I appreciate you making the time, either way.
Of course.
So I would love for anybody who's watching now or in the future that maybe doesn't know you, would you maybe tell us a little bit about you, what you do?
Yeah,
what
totally. So if you don't already know, I'm Kenzie Gleason. I do a lot of like paranormal and like cryptozoological. That word is so hard to say for no reason. Cryptid like investigation and research and stuff. And I have a couple podcasts and do a whole bunch of things. And I make art and yeah, just kind of doing all the things.
All the things. I want to talk more about all the things. What? Sorry.
I said everything. I do everything.
You do a little bit of everything. Like, these are thick notes I have today. You've been involved in the strange and unusual since a pretty early age, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I started doing this stuff when I was about 8 years old. So, yeah, my dad, my dad's a paranormal investigator. He grew up in Amesbury, Massachusetts, which is, like, with New England in general, like, there's a lot of the paranormal, just kind of a little bit of everywhere. It's like kind of known for its like ghost activity everywhere. It's just, you know, New England's really haunted. And the town and city that my dad grew up in is like no difference. And the house that he grew up in was actually really haunted. And he was like, he has 9 brothers and sisters, and he was one of like 2 or 3 that was like able to like kind of hear some of the things that were going on. So he's been doing it for a long, long time. And when I was a kid, I kind of just like was brought into this world, and I was like, man, I love all this weird shit. Like, immediately I was like, I love it. Let's fucking go. And it took a long time, but my dad like eventually agreed to bring me ghost hunting with him. Started when I was about 8. And I've just been doing everything since then. So
that's incredible. So
you're stuff, cryptozoology stuff. I like to go. Me and Matt actually went out last night and looked for the spot where the Exeter UFO incident happened. So like a little bit, I like to do everything. I'm like everything across the board. Like, let's do it.
I love that. I love that. So your dad was immersed in this stuff from a pretty early age and passed it on to you. That's so cool.
Oh yeah. The other night we actually, Matt and I went out to dinner with my parents, and like they had just met each other for the first time, and they were like, you know, hanging out, whatever. And it reached a point where like my dad and Matt were having a conversation about shadow people. They were just like chilling, hanging out with each other, like talking about shadow people. And I was like, this is so funny to me because like anybody else's parents like would not be doing this. But, like my dad, because he's a weird like paranormal guy, is like always like, oh, you want to hear my EVPs? Like, I just met you. Look at my evidence.
Yeah, like a lot of times you might think, oh, like maybe I shouldn't tell them right away about the weird shit I'm into. Maybe I should, you know, ease into it. But just right out of the gate, that's perfect.
Oh yeah, immediately.
I love that. Well, speaking of like investigating and stuff, you've done a substantial amount of on the ground like field work. Is there anything you've encountered that really challenged your expectations or really caught you off guard?
Honestly, like anything, really. I feel like when you go into things, like the idea or the thought that you're going to run into something or that you're going to experience something feels very abstract until you do experience something, whether it's like seeing a creature or some sort of like paranormal activity, whatever it is, like it's always like it always feels very like abstract. And then you actually experience something, and I feel like, at least for me, this might be different for everybody else, but like it catches me off guard no matter what. Even if I go in like 100% prepared to like see something weird, to experience something crazy, I'm always caught off guard by it, because there's always that part of my brain that's like, oh, well, that's not actually going to happen. And then it does happen, and you're like, oh shit. So like, it's like literally everything I've ever experienced doing field work has kind of been shocking to me. And like, even if it's, you know, something I kind of expected to happen.
Wow. So it's there's not a point where you're like, okay, yeah, I guess I'm used to this. Oh yeah, of course that chair is gonna move. Like,
no,
doesn't.
I mean,
Wow.
and I think that's what keeps it fun for me, at least. Like, because I've been doing this a long time. I've been doing all this stuff a long time. But I think that's why it's still fun, is that I don't expect anything, especially because every situation is different. So like, if you go into something being like, oh, I know that this is gonna happen, it's like, it's not fun anymore. It's not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like, kind of, I don't know, being like, starting with like a fresh plate every time. You're like, I don't know what's gonna happen. It could be something new, something different every single time, is what keeps it fun. And like, I don't know, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Love that. We have a couple fun comments from the audience. Micah Hanks. Hey, Micah.
Hi,
Absolutely.
Micah.
So cool. Absolutely fantastic to see the two of you. Miss my crypto weirdness brethren. Me too, bro.
Oh my God.
Great
Micah
to see
spent
you.
a whole 2 days in a row having to sit next to myself and the other two chaotic people that the Dream Goals.
He took it in stride. He took everything in
He
stride.
came out
that
the other
weekend.
side and still wanted to know us as people. So like, that's pretty good.
Micah wrote one of my favorite books, The UFO Singularity. Highly recommend. Let's see.
I think I've read that one. I'll have to get that.
It's a good one. There's some cool stuff in there. Yeah. High Key Obsessed Podcast, Killing the Headband. Hey, thank you. Thank you. I washed my hair this morning, and it's just doing its own thing. And hello to everybody who's jumped in. Great to see you all hanging out with our good friend Kenzie Gleason of many things. We're going to talk about all those things. So you have a connection to like literally one of the biggest names in the cryptozoology field, like one of those really impactful individuals.
Yes.
Can I ask you about Loren Coleman?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. So what is that like? Like, what is it like? I mean, knowing that
it was
guy?
Cool. It was like, so I worked for him for a few months, and like, him and I don't talk. We're not BFFs, you know. I don't talk to him every day, but I shoot him a message on Facebook every once in a while. And I talked to him recently about like my tax information, because it's tax season. And I was like, hey man, hey Loren, I don't remember if I'm supposed to get a W-2 from you. So I was, you know, like emailing him about like my tax return. But like, I chat with him every once in a while, but as a whole, like, he is a really cool dude. And I know that a lot of people have their opinions on him. And, you know, I've had a lot of instances at like events and stuff where people are like, oh, you worked for Loren Coleman, like, kind of fuck you. And it's a really weird thing. But all in all, like, I think he's a cool dude. I got a chance to kind of actually get to know him on like a different level that wasn't like, I'm investigating with this man or, you know, whatever. Like, I think a lot of the time when people interact with him, it's like at a convention, or, you know, they're trying to get his opinion on their notes, or, you know, whatever it is. And I got a chance to kind of get to know him on a different level, in a different way. And I think he's a really cool dude. I think he's really funny. He's got a really interesting sense of humor that you would not expect. But he's cool, and he's sweet, and he's a nice old man. And I enjoyed working for him. I thought he was really, really cool to work for, especially, you know, he'd come in sometimes when we'd be at the museum, and he would chat with us about whatever cryptid he was thinking about that day. And it was just kind of nice. And like, I have different opinions on some things than he does, but it was nice to be able to just be like, oh, well, this is what I think about this. And he'd be like, okay, well, this is what I think about this. And, you know, just have a conversation about it, and everything was fine. And it was just really cool. It was a really cool experience.
That's so interesting, just to be able to say that. Like, oh yeah, I worked for Loren Coleman. I talked taxes with him. Like, no big deal.
I know. What's like the funniest thing is, like, when I first went in for my job interview with him, I was like so nervous because I was like, I like really admire this guy and all the research he's done and everything. So I was like, that's really cool. And then like afterwards, I was like, I had to ask him for help with my tax forms because I live in a different state than the museum. So the
Mm.
tax forms are different because it's a different state. And I had to be like, okay, so how do I fill this out? And I was like, okay, so what about this section? Like, what does this thing mean? And he's like sitting there with his pen, like helping me check off my tax forms. And I was like, I feel like I'm sitting with my dad. Like, that's the kind of vibe that this has right now, with like my dad helping me like fill out my taxes. And I was like, that's so funny to me. So the fact that the last time I talked to him literally was about my taxes is like
Wow.
hysterical.
That's so funny. Like, that's such a
Yeah.
human interaction to have with this like name that's like a legend to some people, you
Oh
know?
yeah. No,
A
I
lot
know.
of
It's
people.
funny.
That's so cool. Hard left turn here. This is kind of a random thing, but you were doing this thing with a mannequin for a while. Um, oh, there's your cat. Yeah.
I was gonna say, you see my cat? She's fucking,
I
yeah. So I was
love
doing
it
a
when
thing with
cats show up in these
mannequin.
things. Yeah, what was that about? I remember it, but I just I want to hear the story again.
Um, it was just like, so Heather, obviously you know Heather, my roommate and like one of my best friends. Heather and I, so my mannequin, I used to work at a clothing store. I worked at a clothing store. I was a department manager at an H&M for like 5 years. And I had the hookup for a while because even after I left, like people I used to work with still work there. And whenever they were getting rid of mannequins, they'd say, "Hey, do you want this mannequin?" And I'd say, "Yeah, totally." Regardless, just because I have some friends who would use them for art. Some of my friends in the mathcore band Wilsiak use it for their like music videos and stuff and decorate their practice space with them. And then I also make jewelry, so I would use the mannequin sometimes as like a human form to kind of work on.
Oh, cool.
And I ended up with these baby mannequins. And what is like, babies are so creepy for no reason, especially like in the mannequin form. So me and Heather were just driving around one day and we were like, what if we just put the baby mannequin like in front of this creepy thing? And then we just started doing it and it was just so funny to us. Like everybody else hated it. Everybody was like, oh my God, this is so scary. And me and Heather thought it was so damn funny that we just did it. And we only did it in the summer because it was like the only time it was nice enough out to like be outside running around with this baby mannequin. But I don't know. We just started doing it and we were like, this is hysterical. So that's all I have for answers for you because I really don't know why we started doing it. It just was so funny to us.
I remember it popping up in one of your stories one night, and I was like, I think half asleep or something. And I was like, yeah, this is internet stuff. What the hell? What is it? Yeah, it was very creepy.
Oh yeah, and we took it to some weird places too. Like there was this like this really haunted like estate like state park in Massachusetts called Maudsley State Park, and one of the places that we took it was this like gate that has like all the cat.
He's so jealous. He does this every time.
I know. I'm like, sooner or later, Molly's gonna try and get up on my lap while we do this, but yeah, she's hanging out over there. But yeah, we were like at this like really haunted gate. It's got a bunch of like legends around it and like ghost stories around this like one place, and we were like, it'd be so creepy to like put it, at the gate, like where this ghost story is. And then, we've just like found all these creepy places that we like to go. We were like, we'll just put the baby at the creepy places because that just makes it more creepy. Especially when you know the background. Like if you knew what Maudsley was and you knew that that entrance, those gates were called the gates of hell and you knew the legend behind it, it would be that much scarier. So it's like
Yeah.
just like
It's not
a
enough
weird
just
thing
to
that we were doing.
not enough just to go to a scary place. Like we're just gonna bring a baby mannequin.
We're gonna leave our baby mannequin there as well.
You mentioned your jewelry. I'd love to. I've seen some of your work. Not a whole lot because every time I'm around you, it's at a cryptid thing, and I haven't seen you. So yeah, I'd love to know more about that.
Yeah, so I've had a small business since 2018. And I basically just I mostly make earrings. I do make some necklaces and stuff sometimes, but I mostly make earrings. But I make jewelry with ethically sourced animal bones, and crystals and stones and rocks and all sorts of things. And I've been doing it for a couple of years now. I also make like wall art sometimes too. I think you might be able to see, well, you can kind of see, like right there is some of my pieces that I've made. I just, sometimes I keep it for myself. But yeah, I make like a whole bunch of different things. Yeah, I don't know. I've been doing it for a long time. It started as like a weird project, so I was like, that could be fun. And now I really like to do it, so I've just continued.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I got a buddy that made jewelry, or still makes jewelry, but you know, has done it the whole time I've known them, and it's really cool work. It's really intricate stuff.
It's a lot of fun. It's a good like outlet for, you know, frustration or whatever, because it's so detailed that you spend so much time focusing that by the end of it you've forgotten, you know, what you were upset about, or, you know, whatever. You have a bad day or anything. But also, like, I think like the kind of stuff that I make, I get inspiration kind of just from like everywhere. Like all the things around me, and like a lot of it's like kind of earthy looking, which is, you know, pulled from my surroundings and stuff. So I go to work and stuff, and I see things and I'm like, oh, that gives me an idea for a piece. And I come home and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna make this pair of earrings or whatever. And so yeah, I think it's fun. Cool. I really like it.
That's really cool. I love the idea of working with animal bones. That's so interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. It's like, I've been vegan for a long time, so it's like one of those things that like draws a lot of questions, especially from my family. Because they're like, what do you mean? Like, you don't eat meat, but you're going to use their bones. And for me, it's like a way to like kind of memorialize like an animal, or like kind of like, I don't know. I could go on for like 20 minutes about like the way that I view like using the bones and like what it means. But to like keep it simply, I just have a very specific view on death, and I think it can be beautiful. So I like to use, like, these are all ethically sourced. I'm not going out and running over animals or you know,
got another one.
Yeah, a lot of them, like, I go hiking, and I live in New Hampshire, so a lot of the stuff we can find, you know, just buried in the woods or, you know, off to the side, and a lot of the stuff I have found just walking through the woods. So I like to take something that's seen as like awful and sad and turn it into something beautiful. So
I love that.
Thanks.
Love that. Can we talk podcasting for a little bit? Probably more.
Oh, hell yeah, we can.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about crypto chats, but I gotta ask you a couple questions about Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls. Like, naturally. Is that okay? Yeah, naturally.
Like, it's required.
I feel like if I didn't, I'd be in trouble with somebody. Yeah. I don't even know who. Yeah. Try to stay on the Queen's good side when I can. Yeah. If just two questions, because we actually are having the Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls on in March. Yeah. So we'll talk about all this stuff then. But if you had to equate the recording of a Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls episode to a theme park ride, what ride would that be?
You know, the one that you get like, it like straps you to the wall and then it spins you around a bunch, and then it starts going like this way and then this way, and then
where it's like
like spinning the whole time, and then you have to vomit after.
Yes.
That one.
Okay.
The only way that like I can explain that is like you literally just have to listen to one of our episodes. So like if you're watching this and you've never listened to a Manic Pixie Dream Ghouls episode, you need to.
Oh, you're missing out.
That's the only way you'll ever understand what that means.
You're really missing out. I ran into you and Sarah in a clubhouse room one night, and I was like, oh, these guys are cool. And I followed the link in somebody's profile to your show, and I was like, oh my God, I love this. It's so like, it's so off the wall and entertaining, but well researched and like thought out and educational. It's a great show.
Yeah. I like to think that we have a good balance between like absolute bullshit and like information. But I mean, I also make it, so who's to say that's real?
No, it's a great show. It's one of my favorites. Well, I feel like I have a lot of favorites these days, but it's pretty high up the list.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So, excuse me. I know I said two questions. I'm just going to scratch that one. I feel like that's for another day. Let's talk about crypto chats. I really want to talk about your show. Yes.
Yay.
Can you give us like an overview of what Crypto Chats is? Like just kind
Yeah,
of a
for sure.
summary?
So Crypto Chats is like my solo show. It's just me. And it's basically a really short and sweet dive. I don't want to say dive, but like a really short and sweet look at more obscure cryptids and like alien encounters. Not as much like the paranormal. Every once in a while I'll do something paranormal related, but mostly aliens and cryptids. And the really, really obscure ones. Like I try to like focus on the ones that people have never heard of.
Mhm.
And primarily in North and South America. It used to just be North America. I've tried to branch out a little bit more and include South America as well, in at least in some of the more recent episodes. So maybe eventually it'll be a global show with a little bit more. But yeah, so like obscure cryptids and alien encounters from the Americas. That's like what I really like to focus on.
Yeah. I really like this isn't a question, but I like the short format because like I can check out an episode or two episodes like on my lunch break or while I'm getting ready for work in the morning. You know, I like a long podcast, but I like the I like the quick ones that I can get into and finish. You know.
Yeah. Well, and for me, like, I think part of the reason why I make it that way is first of all, when you're doing a show by yourself, it's really hard to make a long episode. Just because there's nobody to riff off of. Matt and I recorded an episode today and it felt like the blink of an eye and we recorded for longer than I ever do. Um, because there's both of us and we're kind of both going off of each other. But when you're recording by yourself, it's a lot harder to get it to go longer just because
Mm-hmm.
it's just you. There's nobody to like respond to you. It's just you.
Yeah.
But also like I have really bad ADHD and my attention span is that of a goldfish's. So like I struggle a lot sometimes with like a lot of like really long episode podcasts. Like I love them, but sometimes I struggle to listen to them because I can't focus on it long enough to like retain all the information. So I have to listen to them, in short bursts over a
Mm-hmm.
couple days. So that's I think like a lot of, and I do the same thing with my jewelry business too. Like I put out things that I myself would like because that's what makes sense to me is like I want to cater to the people who have a hard time focusing and processing information the same way I do. Um, so I like to put out little bursts of information. It's like a short little bit so that, if you want to learn more, you can kind of go and research a little deeper into it on your own time. But if you don't, and you only want the little bit of like, the surface information, then it's the perfect amount of time and the perfect amount of information for you to kind of just be like, okay, I know what that was. I understand that sighting and kind of move on from it.
Yeah. And you do a really good job with it. Every episode I listen to, I feel like I learned something. Even if it's one I've heard of before, I'm
Yeah.
familiar with, I'm always learning something because you do a really good job of, covering the lore and getting specific, but again, short format, making it
Yeah.
digestible. Really
Thank you.
like it.
Appreciate
Yeah.
that.
No, it's great. You have kept this show going for 48 episodes, over
Mhm.
a year now. How do you do that? How do you deal
Technically
with?
over 2 years. So I actually started my show, or well, almost 2 years. I started my show in August of 2020.
Okay.
But when I originally started it, it was a YouTube series. Um,
Oh, I
because
didn't know that. Cool.
yeah, well, and like that's when it started going on Spotify and Apple and everything. You'll see like the very first episode shows January 1st, 2021. But in reality, I started actually doing things, and if you go to my YouTube, you can find all of it. Um, but I liked to like put my face to the information I was sharing,
Mhm.
which now I don't care as much about. But so it started then, and it's been kind of a while. We're coming up on almost 2 years now, which is crazy because I haven't even gotten to the full. If I was going a week at a time, I would have definitely more episodes by now. But things happen sometimes, and life gets in the way. And I kind of just I try not to feel bad if I have to take a break from doing episodes.
No, you shouldn't.
Because sometimes, well, sometimes you're like, oh my God, like I wish I could post an episode. Like, I need to record, I need to do this. Like I'm falling behind. And it gets a little overwhelming sometimes, but
I know
I
that
try to
feeling.
remind myself that like I'm a person. We're all people. And if I'm going through something, or if I'm super busy, or if I, have a lot going on and I just can't get to an episode, that's okay. Like, my listeners will be there the next week or
Yeah.
the week after, or whenever it is that I can finally post an episode. And I try to just take the pressure off of myself a little bit sometimes, just to be like, I can get to this when I have the time.
That's really good advice. That's
Yeah.
really good advice. That was kind of the second part of my question, is how do you deal with things like creators fatigue and burnout? And I think that's, it's
Yeah.
really important.
It gets hard. Like, I work a full-time job, and I work a full-time job that is not a 9 to 5. I don't work the same hours every day. I work different hours every day. And, my job is directly dealing with the general public, which, especially during a pandemic, can be really stressful, and really tiring. And, I got a life outside of work, outside of podcasting. So sometimes you just need a break.
Yeah.
And, every once in a while you can kind of deal with it and, take a day or something, and then you're like, okay, I'm ready. I can jump back into this. But every once in a while you need like a week off, and that's okay. Like, I feel like everyone needs to remember that they can give themselves the week off, and that's totally fine. If you need to skip an episode, that's fine. You can do that.
Yeah. You're not going to get canceled for taking a break. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And
It's,
and Matt and I actually talked about this the other day too, about like, people who listen to your show who are really genuinely like interested in what you have to say, or really, really truly like the content that you create. They'll be back around when you're ready to post more content. It's like those people that are there and like true fans and like love what you put out no matter what. They're gonna wait the extra week or two if you decide to take a break. So
that's really cool. I've noticed that, like, we're terrible about our update schedule. We're 3 days behind right now. But I've noticed that people, instead of it's terrible. I've noticed instead of being impatient, people are more excited when something does finally come out. They're like, oh, great. Yeah, I was waiting for this. Like,
yeah, well, so I had taken a break from crypto chats for a while, actually, because in October I got in that car accident and I had a severe concussion, and I just could not do much of anything for a long time. Especially like looking at screens was really hard. So I couldn't like do my research. I couldn't look at my laptop to record. And I had such bad brain fog that I couldn't, even when I had like an idea of something I wanted to talk about, I couldn't like really form enough of a paragraph about, what I was talking about. Just because my brain was so scrambled from bouncing off of the windshield. So
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had a really hard time kind of getting back into it, because after being out of it for so long, the idea of getting back into recording again was really like daunting. And not only that, but like I was really discouraged about it. So I just kept putting it off and putting it off. And Matt literally is the reason why I picked it back up again, because he encouraged me to kind of get back into it. And now I've been a little bit more consistent with it, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know. It's hard. Like, it's hard when you get in those ruts of like, you can't produce something, it feels weird, but it's nice to get back into it and like kind of have that push of like, this is good. We should do this.
Yeah. That's really cool. That's really cool. Let's see. Hello to anybody who's jumped in the last little bit. Hanging out with my very good friend, Kenzie Gleason. Let's see. Adam, Creature Kids book. Yes, short format is a cool concept, and I like how easily digestible it is. Longer form is too easy to get sidetracked. Yeah, I get very sidetracked all the time.
Yeah, sometimes I literally just like start thinking about something else completely. And then I'm like, oh my God, what just happened in the last 15 minutes? And I have to go back
you start like swiping backwards randomly. Like, where was I when I was paying
attention? I have no idea what I just listened to.
Yeah, I love me a long show, but again, that ADD brain, bro. Adam also says like a beer sampler of paranormality. Yeah.
Oh, very much. Oh yeah.
Let's see, Jeremiah, 2 delightful friends. Well, you're delightful, buddy.
That's so sweet. Hi, Jeremiah.
Such a kind gentleman he is. Let's see, Campfire Tales, Jordan, probably, I'm assuming. Are you both just so hyped for Cryptid March Madness? I know I am.
I'm really excited. I think that's going to be really cool.
Yeah. Which team are you on?
The Northeast.
Okay, I'm on Mid-South, so
Yeah.
good
Well, we
luck.
got like all the New England peeps, like all in one little one little row.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
it's gonna be a fun event. Yeah, if you're
I
not
can't.
on Clubhouse, you guys need to be on Clubhouse. You don't want to miss
Mm-hmm.
that. Let's see, Bigfoot Society, Jeremiah. Oh, sorry, Jordan had a good question. I almost missed it. Kenzie, what was your favorite band in high school?
Ooh, Chiodos. I was a metalcore kid in high school, and Chiodos was my favorite band, and they still are one of my favorite bands. And I put my Halloween pajama pants on for this. They have little skeleton bones on them. But I was wearing Chiodos sweatpants before. And I was
It,
like, I feel like maybe I shouldn't wear these. And now maybe I could have. So yeah, I was a little scene kid in high school, and I still am a scene kid at heart. So
it was Craig Owens, right? Is that the guy's name?
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
he can sing.
big Craig Owens fan. I have one of his like solo vinyls, like not that far away from me right now, because I love everything he does.
That's cool. Oh, interesting. Sledgehammer Horror, my band opened for Chiodos at the MySpace Internet Cafe in Ann Arbor back in the day. That's
Oh
cool.
my god. I love that's so fucking cool. I love Chiodos.
That's a cool anecdote. I get the most interesting like anecdotes and stuff from people during these.
Yeah,
It's so
seriously.
cool. Let's see. I want to talk some more about your show.
Let's
Based
do
on
it.
based on the research you've done, particularly for crypto chats, but anywhere, is there a cryptid that you think is particularly underrated, underappreciated, needs more attention?
Um, I don't that's a hard one. I feel like basically everything outside of Mothman, Bigfoot, and Braxy. Like, because those are our big three. And like the Jersey Devil, which like the Jersey Devil is my favorite cryptid.
Mm-hmm.
So no tea, no shade to the Jersey Devil. But I saw a lot of creatures and like critters and stuff that are really underrated that I don't think anyone talks about enough. One of my favorite like things to talk about are, and I'm sure you could probably like gather this from my podcast, but the fearsome critters of lumberjack folklore are like some of my absolute favorite things to talk about, and I think that they're like really underrated because a lot of them
You did
tie
2 episodes on that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the only thing that I've come back to do a part two of so far. So far, I'm gonna do some others, but that's like one of my absolute favorite things because a lot of it there are parallels to not only like things like the Sasquatch, like in the second episode I talked about the agropelter, which is essentially an ape creature that lived in the trees and threw rocks at people. And I'm like, that literally ties into like modern day Sasquatch sightings. So like but also not only that, but there's also like a bunch of fearsome critters that are basically just like animals that we've identified now that were just mistaken identity cases, you know, back in the day when they didn't, you know, have it identified. So I think that those things are like, they should be talked about a little bit more because not only are they really interesting, but they like do tie into like modern day zoology, but also modern day cryptozoology. So it's like you got the bridge to both things. And they're so neat.
It's kind of like a folklore study in, cryptozoology as a legitimate science, because
Yeah.
we talk about animals that were misidentified and later we found out what they were, but they were their own folktales for ways.
Yeah.
At least that
No,
I kind of took that from what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. No, and that's like I think I'll stick with that. I think I'll stick with the fearsome critters as that's my number one underrated. Because I know there's more than one of them, obviously, but as a whole, I think that they need more love and more attention because they're so cool.
Now, as long as you've been doing this stuff, this might be a moot point, but since you've started doing research for crypto chats, has that research or producing that show, has it changed your perspective on the unsolved and the paranormal at all?
A little bit. Since I've been doing this for a long time, like my opinions and my thoughts and theories on things have changed a million times. Because I love to learn and I love to like experience new things. And I love to like get other people's opinions and like theories on things too, and kind of like see things from other people's perspectives as well. So like my thoughts and theories have changed 1,000 times. Yeah, I mean, I just like that's what I got. Like I
That's
don't
a
know.
super
Like,
vague question to ask,
no,
but
yeah. But yeah, my everything has changed 1,000 times. Like there are things that I thought when I first started, even like doing research back when I was like 17, that I feel completely differently about now. There's some things I still feel the same way about. Just because it's an opinion that I guess is really deep and holds true forever, for me. But for the most part, like a lot of things have changed, and a lot of like I think my thoughts on a lot of things have gone in a lot of different directions, just with gaining new information and new perspective, and talking to, you know, people who do research as well. Because I was talking to my physical therapist about this today. This is like such a random thing that we were chatting about. But we were talking today about how like um sometimes like when you're learning, when you think you've like, or not when you think you've, but when you are like really interested in something, and you're like so focused on learning that like there is never an end to what you can learn about that topic. Like even if you think you found all the information, you're still like, okay, but what about like maybe there's a perspective that I'm missing, or maybe there's, you know, someone's encounter that I'm missing, or maybe there's a situation, you know, related to this that I'm missing. And that's kind of how it is for me now, where like I never get to the end of my research and go, I feel like an expert on this. I always am kind of just like, what am I missing that might change my mind on this?
yeah,
You know, or what am I missing that might make this seem like a different creature, or whatever, you know?
that's really interesting. Like thinking of it from multiple angles, and
Yeah.
yeah, because
I
a lot
thought
of this stuff.
important, especially with things like cryptozoology, because it's like none of us have a definitive like answer to any of this stuff. So like getting everybody's opinion and kind of like looking at all the information that's available can like really change how you feel about it. And that's not a
Yeah,
bad thing.
yeah. I love, going on these thought journeys where it's like Bigfoot as an extra dimensional,
Mm-hmm.
Bigfoot as just a monkey. I'm
Yep.
not going to figure out the answer. I'm sure we won't figure it out before I die, but it's such
Yeah.
a. What's the future of crypto chats? Like anything coming up? If it's not confidential, I don't want you to, give anything away that
Um,
you're saving.
I don't have a ton of things. Like I'm hoping to maybe do some more events with crypto chats. Because so far I've never done an event with crypto chats. I've never done that. It's always been my solo show and like my own little project. So I haven't done a lot of stuff with it, but I'd like to try to take it to some events and, you know, maybe bring it to the public and see, you know, meet all my fans if I have any or whatever. But I mean, I don't
You
know. I'm
do.
just chugging along and doing my own thing. Like I got a really this episode that I did with Matt is really cool. It'll be out this week. It's like I was like, oh, it's a secret episode, but I feel like everyone could have guessed that that's that's where I was going with that. I was gonna
I
be
absolutely can't wait to hear that. That's so
it's
exciting.
it was fun to record. So I'm hoping, you know, in the future I can do some more episodes with Matt just because, you know, we see each other once a month, so we get to kind of talk about that stuff and yeah, that's all I really have planned. Is just trying to do some events and maybe, you know, do some more things with Matt.
That's cool. I like Matt. I'm a fan of his
Yeah, he's a
whole
cute.
his whole thing. He's good. He's good people.
Yeah, I agree.
So another hard left turn. What are your thoughts on the Texas Terror Dog?
Love it. Absolutely love it. I remember that clubhouse that we talked about renaming it.
You were on the
The
panel
whole
for that one.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I literally said, and I remember I literally said, why can't you were like, oh well, if we could rename it, like that would be so. And I was like, why can't you? Why don't you
Yeah.
just do it? And that's
You
literally what started.
That's right. You
Yeah.
were the one who laid it down and were like, "No, we can do this. Like this is
No,
totally
literally,
doable."
we could just do it because at this point we've made up everything that we, you know, say and do like as a society. We made all that up, so we can change it at any time. And
Yeah.
clearly, we did change it because we no longer call the Texas Terror Dog a Texas. It's no longer a chupacabra.
It's not.
So
It's
there
not.
we go. I
And
think.
Sorry, go
I
ahead.
don't
No.
really have like a lot of thoughts on it. I just like, yeah, it's a thing. And the renaming process was really funny to me. I'm a little bit upset that Poopy McButtbutt did not win because that was
Yeah,
my favorite. But
that was a good one.
it was good. And actually, I have a group chat in my phone called Poopy McButtbutt because it just made me laugh so hard that
That's
I was
really
like,
wonderful.
that's forever. Yeah.
That's awesome.
But I will accept Texas Terror Dog. I think that's fine. I think that was good. And I liked that as a community, we kind of all came together and we're like, you know what? It makes sense for us to change the name of this. Let's just do it. And everyone kind of came together and voiced their opinion, and together we all decided on this new name for this creature that, you know, is not a chupacabra.
I was really proud of us as a
That
community.
was really good. I really love the community that we have. Like, everybody is so wonderful and so supportive, and I love that we literally all just were like, this is a good idea, let's just do it. Everyone got together and like came together and we just did this thing, and now we just call it something different.
Well, now, you know, a few of the big names have said, oh yeah, I think this is a good idea, like, you know, Seth and Lyle and Ken. So that's exciting.
Yeah. And it always, you know, it always was a good idea too to differentiate those two creatures because they were never the same thing.
Yeah.
And like there are a lot of things like that I found in my research, like to name one, the Mapinguari of South America, like that, you know, there's like multiple different descriptions that fall under the umbrella term of the word Mapinguari that like are not the same thing, that like maybe we start calling them something different. But like I like that that's like a possibility, that this community was like very willing and open to be like, all right,
Yeah.
we've heard you out, that's a great idea, let's do something about it. Like that's wonderful. I love that.
It was a lot of fun. It's been fun to see it pick up steam, and people are still going to call it the Texas Chupacabra sometimes. That's fine. It can have more than one name. That's fine. Yeah. But at least when you say Chupacabra and someone goes, which one? Now I can say, oh, well, the Texas Terror Dog, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Even though
you
I
get a
don't
little
think
bit of a differentiation there. Makes it a little easier.
It simplifies the conversation a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. What cryptid would you most like to solve crimes with?
The Jersey Devil.
Okay.
Or, you know what? Or Braxy. Because we all know I'm a Braxy stan. I have my big Braxy, like, tattoo on my arm. And, like, I have fucking so much merchandise from the Flatwoods Monster Museum. And I just, like, I'm a big-time Braxy stan. But the Jersey Devil is my favorite cryptid. So I'm like, that would really be really cool. But Braxy, like, what if we just, like, we're, like, a crime-solving, like, trio?
Yeah.
Like, that would be really cool.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I'm not sure.
Braxy and the Jersey Devil, and we're all just hanging out and solving mysteries.
Solving crimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I like that. I wasn't sure how you were going to respond to that. I just knew it was going to be good.
It could have gone so many different ways.
Yeah. I feel like I sent you my notes a couple days ago, and I feel like I sent you a lot of like just inane bullshit questions. Like some of these are the same thing twice. I don't know.
Yeah, that's okay. Honestly, I read all of them and I said, okay, I have an idea of what Aaron's going to ask me. And then I forgot. So, like, this has been all brand new to me because I forgot everything that you said to me.
Well, it sounded very, not rehearsed, but it sounded very put together and
intentional.
Yes, intentional. Yeah. That's it. Yes.
That's good.
Let's see. Cassie says, I love your lumberjack folklore shows. I have a list to keep researching. So much fun. Absolutely.
Oh, yay. I love that.
Yeah. Cassie's great. Campfire Tales said a little while ago, yes, Chiodos was life. I was a total scene kid myself.
Absolutely love it. Great energy.
I feel like a lot of people in our age bracket right now, that's, you know, where we were.
I mean, the playlist that we made for CryptidCon, that was like a pop punk, like, it was like essentially like Punk Goes Pop album, like, meets a Warped Tour playlist, and it was good. It was really good.
It
makes sense.
I was excited to see how everybody's tastes like synced up. I thought that was pretty cool.
Honestly, and like we did pretty good, honestly. For like a bunch of different people who didn't know each other before, and like the only connection really that we had at the time was cryptozoology, we're all like very compatible people.
Yes.
So like that was really cool.
Yeah. We stayed in an Airbnb for 3 nights and didn't kill each other. So that's good.
True. That is very true. That was
we were driving up. We were driving up to Kentucky, and we're like, you know, talking, and we're like, so we're gonna stay in a house with some people. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
And then it just went really well.
And now it's like, we'll do it again. We'll do
Hell
it again.
Heck yeah. I will never not, I think, want to stay in the Hype House.
Yeah. No, that was so much fun. Like you guys, like, and Heather, and we got Matt, we had Danner, it was like, and Asher's, like the whole crew.
Asher's an in.
So fun.
That was a great time.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great time.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I can't talk about it without smiling. Like
I know, right? It was just so good. Like everything about it was so pure and wholesome, and like that's like my favorite thing about this like community of friends that we have. Like seeing everyone at CryptidCon, everyone's just so excited to see each other all the time.
Yeah.
And so happy. Because I'm just like, you know, like we're all out here doing the same thing. You know, we're all out here like just trying to make a name for ourselves in this weird niche field. But like it doesn't, when it comes to like all of our friends in this little community that we have, it's not about like getting ahead. It's about like getting everybody to the same level all the time.
Yeah.
Like everyone's just so supportive and like ready to like get everyone to where you're at, that it's like it's so nice and so wholesome.
I agree. Yeah. It's a really genuine thing too. Like it doesn't feel fake or pretentious, you know.
Yeah.
Like somebody drops a new episode and everybody is throwing it out there without being asked.
Oh, yeah.
Like I think that's so cool.
I actually, right before CryptidCon, I had been talking to one of my coworkers about, you know, how excited I was to see everybody and like kind of explaining like, you know, all the weird dynamics that we all have to him and stuff. And I had gone out to take a break and I came back and he was like, you know, it's really awe-inspiring, like the way that you've described this community, because it just seems like that you guys support each other kind of no matter what. And like it's just like really, it's wholesome and it's pure, and being on the outside of it, like I wish I was a part of it. And I was like, listen man, you could be a part of it if you wanted to.
Yeah,
like,
come hang out with us.
But like you could be a part of it if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, hearing that from somebody who's outside of our community, being like, you guys are just so like, you care about each other so much that it's like awe-inspiring, was so nice, because I was like, I really like, I feel that. So I'm like, yeah.
That's touching. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Like the prerequisite for joining this circle of weirdos is that you can't be a dick.
Yep.
That's it, really. As far as I'm aware.
Just don't be an asshole.
Yeah. There may be a membership manual somewhere I haven't read, but just don't be a dick. Yeah. Micah says music is, just be nice. Be nice. Micah says music is always what brings us together, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
That's true.
And monsters.
Yeah.
Micah also says, less often recognized cryptids should include the Trinity Alps giant salamanders. Don't forget those guys. Those are important. Tom Slick was really into those guys.
I was working at the museum when that expedition was going on. And I got to hear a lot about it from Loren, because Loren was, I think, sponsored it maybe. I don't totally remember, but I got to talk to him about the Trinity Alps giant salamanders quite a bit. And like, I am not I don't know a ton about them. I'll be very honest. They're not like my, you know, top informed.
I'm not super familiar with them either. Yeah. So yeah, Micah's right.
I definitely agree that they're underrated, and maybe that's a sign that I should talk about them on my show, because I know enough about them to you know, have that opinion. But hi Ashers.
Hi Ashers. We were just talking about you.
Yeah, we were just talking about you.
Literally. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, giant salamanders don't get enough love, I think. And they've been a part of like cryptozoology lore for a long time, because Tom Slick was into the giant salamanders.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in the early days.
I think that sometimes, like, and this is not like a read on anybody, but I think sometimes like there's definitely a line between like the people in cryptozoology who are really here for the actual definition of cryptozoology. And then, you know, the people who like the monsters and the mythology and the legends and stuff. And I think sometimes we forget to like, because I'm definitely, you know, I dabble, I go, you know, back and forth on this line. But I think sometimes we do forget that some of these things, like, you know, animals that just aren't recognized by science yet, is like the true meaning of cryptozoology. So
Yeah.
like these giant salamanders are like the true meaning of cryptozoology.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we just forget, we kind of forget, like, you know, what things are considered, you know, the history of cryptozoology, and what I think we forget, like, what the future can look like with that sometimes, because, you know, and I'm guilty of it too. And like, honestly, like, I love a good monster. Let's, you know, we all know this about me.
Sure.
So it's like, I think sometimes we get wrapped up in that stuff and forget that, you know, the real actual meaning of cryptozoology, when you like break it down, the etymology of the word is literally like undiscovered species and shit.
Yeah,
so
the study
like,
of undiscovered animals. Yeah,
would really fall right in that category.
That's really cool. Yeah, because there's a lot of folklore, and then there's a lot of metaphysical stuff. But you know, like the giant squid. Like, I love that example because we just classified that thing within the last 20 years. You know, and it was mythology for a really long time.
Yeah, that's a really classic example of like actual cryptozoology. And like the giant panda, the okapi, even the platypus, one of the most like classic examples.
Yeah,
the platypus sounds like a sack of shit, a sack of bullshit. Until you look at it and you're like, oh, okay, no, that's real. All right, sounds good.
Well, gorillas for a long time, right? Weren't they not formally classified to like the early 1900s or something?
Gorilla specifically, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's wild. I think that's a really important perspective to have.
Yeah. I think sometimes you just forget, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, I love monsters, and I love to like look at things like the Fresno night crawlers or the Kentucky goblins and stuff, and be like, this is my niche. I love this, but you know, it does boil down to the other stuff sometimes too.
Yeah. God, you can go so many directions with this too. God, every time. I've kept you for almost an hour. You've been super, super generous with your time. Where can we follow you online? Where can we find you?
So you can follow me at Cryptid Baddie, CryptidBaddie, at the Crypto Chats podcast. You can find me at Manic Pixie Dream Goals podcast. You can find me at Dirt and Gold Jewelry. There's a million places you can find me. But I'm a little bit of everywhere. Did you guys want to see Matt? Do you want to get a little Matt cameo?
Oh, that would be so nice.
I know you're watching that from upstairs.
That would be so wonderful.
I
didn't think it was ever going to happen.
Well, he left the room because I think I told him that if he was going to be in here, it would make me nervous, because doing interviews in general already makes me nervous. But I knew it would make me more nervous if he was like in the room listening to me.
I get nervous every time I do one of these, and this is like the 16th episode, I think.
Yeah,
I was also trying to get somebody else to make a cameo
you can
too.
see everybody's like watching and like adding their commentary and stuff, so you're like, ooh, like.
Yeah, well, and like when you're recording a podcast, you can take things
weird.
out.
I just wanted to say hi, hello.
It's my beautiful boy. Hello.
Hey, I'm watching you guys.
This is so wonderful. I had somebody else who was gonna come say hi. She got lost on the way.
Oh, okay.
But
all right, I'm gonna go. I just want to say hi.
Hi.
Hello.
She usually won't get on these things, but I was like, you have to come say hi to Kenzie. Come back. I don't want to point it over there, then people will be able to see the litter box. There we go. Nobody wants to see that.
We're the powerhouse couple of the cryptid world.
We really are. Paranormal powerhouse couple for life, baby.
Like it.
As both of us. You guys too.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm gonna go.
Well, Kenzie, this has been so much fun. Bye, Matt. I love you. Oh man. All right. Well, hey, I don't want to take you away from Matt or anybody else any longer than I already have. I super appreciate your time. I was really looking forward to this.
This
Yeah.
was a lot of fun. This was like, I always get like so stressed when I do interviews, but then at the end of it, I'm like, wait, that was so fun. I want to do more.
Yeah. I do the same thing every time where I'm like, okay, don't screw this up. Don't say this. Don't forget to say this. And then afterward, I'm like, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
But
You did a wonderful job. You did great.
oh, thank you. I enjoy this. I really just do this because it gives me an excuse to talk to people I like on the internet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it works out.
No, it's fun.
Well, hey, I will talk to you very soon. I'll see you soon, hopefully. And
Oh, yeah.
you have a great night.
You too.
Thank you, friend.
Tell
This
Sarah
is
I love her
wonderful.
also.
I will. Yeah, she's over there somewhere.
Bye. Love you.
Bye. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
Liz.
Thank you so much for watching. It was great to see
Bye,
you
Liz.
all. I'll be back in 2 days with Heather Mosier. We're doing another one
Hell
of these
yeah.
this week.
I love
Yeah.
Heather. That's going to be great.
Heather's fantastic. It's going to be a fun time. Oh, she's gone. Darn. Okay. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. This was great. Bye. Bye. Oh, wait. Asters. Kenzie is always an awesome interviewee. Yes. And Aaron is great at giving them. Aw, thanks, friend. Glad I didn't close it out yet. Okay, for real now. Bye, guys.